So you're trying to get that leadership edge, right? Trying to find the stuff that actually works, cut through all the noise.
Yeah, it feels like there's just so much out there. You really want the distilled wisdom, the things people learn the hard way.
Exactly. And that's what we're digging into today. We've got this really interesting resource. It's a leadership toolkit put together by Matt at My Next Electric.
Oh, yeah.
And this isn't just theory. Matt's apparently spent, 35 years actually doing leadership stuff?
Wow, 35 years.
Yeah, so this toolkit is born from, his own journey, the wins, the screw-ups, learning from mentors, colleagues, friends, family,
Okay.
the whole 9 yards. It's like his personal greatest hits.
That kind of long-term experience is invaluable. You figure he's seen a lot, tried a lot, and filtered it down.
Totally. He said it started small and just grew over time. Quotes, research papers, useful links, PDFs, all sorts of things.
Mm.
And then about 5 years back, when he left an organization called 4.0, he actually created this tighter 10-page version, kind of a highlight reel aimed specifically at CEOs.
That's smart. Boiling it down like that shows he really understands what's essential at that top level. It's not just a data dump.
Right. And then, even more recently, he shared what he calls a simpler, more honest version with some startup founders.
Oh, interesting. How did that go down?
Apparently, really well. They said it was, easy to get, concise, and actually useful for the stuff they were dealing with right now.
That's the real test, isn't it? Feedback from people actually in the trenches. That says a lot about its practical value.
Definitely. So that's our mission today. Really unpack what makes this particular toolkit interesting, maybe unique, especially for CEOs and other leaders listening. We're diving into the version you can download at mattcandler.io leadership. One of you actually sent this over to us.
Okay, sounds great. Let's get into it.
All right, so Matt highlights his top 5 tools. First on the list is integrative bargaining. Now, when I hear bargaining, I kind of think transactional, maybe a bit adversarial.
Yeah, that's the common picture, isn't it? Like haggling over a price. But what's cool about Matt's angle here is how much he stresses the human side, the communication.
Oh, so?
He actually describes it as being like jazz or improv comedy when done well.
Okay, that's a different vibe entirely. Jazz and improv, that suggests collaboration, responsiveness.
Exactly. He sets it against distributive bargaining, the win-lose kind, to really make that contrast clear. It's about shifting your mindset. He points to Lee Thompson's Negotiations 101 as a good resource, too.
So the idea is less about fighting over fixed resources and more about finding ways everyone gets more.
Precisely. It's about digging deeper, understanding what the other person really needs, not just what they say they want, and then exploring different angles at the same time to find those creative solutions where everybody comes out ahead. He mentions using things like multiple equivalent simultaneous offers, mesos, for short and role-playing.
Mesos, what's that about?
It's like instead of just putting one offer on the table, you present maybe 2 or 3 different packages, all roughly equal value to you. But they might appeal differently to the other side. Seeing which one they lean towards tells you a lot about their priorities. It helps unlock those creative trade-offs.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Practical stuff. So, tool number 2, 3 duties of a board. This is based on Dick Chait's work, Governance as Leadership. What are these duties?
Right. So Chait's idea, as Matt lays it out, simplifies the board's role into 3 core jobs. First, fiduciary.
Okay, fiduciary. That sounds like money and rules.
Pretty much. It's the oversight part, making sure the organization is solvent, following the rules, surviving right now. Basic health check.
Got it. What's next?
Second is strategic. This is looking ahead maybe 1 to 3 business cycles out. Where's the organization going? What's the plan?
So beyond just survival, towards the future direction.
Exactly. And the third one is generative. This is the really deep stuff.
Generative. How so?
It's about the fundamental why. Why do we exist? What impact do we want to have? What are our core values? It's about shaping the organization's purpose long term.
Fiduciary, strategic, generative. I like that progression. It's not just spreadsheets. So how does Matt suggest leaders actually use this framework?
Well, he gives some clear how to use steps. First, just to start using that language, fiduciary, strategic, generative, internally. Get everyone on the same page.
Okay, shared vocabulary. Makes sense.
Second, and this is key, actually measure how much time in board meetings or even leadership team meetings is spent on each of those 3 things.
Like do an audit of the conversation.
Yeah, a time audit. Because often the fiduciary stuff just dominates everything.
Oh, absolutely. Budgets, compliance, that
Yeah.
it can suck up all the air.
Exactly. So the third step is to consciously try to shift that balance. He actually suggests a target. less than 20% of the time on fiduciary.
Less than 20%. Wow, that would be a change for many
For
boards.
sure. Then maybe 20–30% on strategic, and the biggest chunk, 30–50%, on generative discussions.
Really dedicating time to the big why questions.
Right. It pushes the board beyond just being a watchdog to actually being a partner in shaping the organization's soul, its long-term impact. It's a subtle shift, but really profound. He also mentions there's a handy clutch PDF summary from Pew Trusts for this.
That target allocation alone is really provocative.
Ah.
Okay, moving to number 3 in the top 5. 4 duties of a CEO. This feels pretty fundamental.
It really is, and Matt breaks it down very clearly. Duty 1, run the existing strategy. Keep the trains running on time.
Okay, execution.
Duty 2, create the next strategy. Figure out where you're going after the current plan.
Future-proofing.
Duty 3, secure resources. Get the money, the talent, whatever you need.
Fuel the engine.
And Duty 4, lead people, the human element, inspiration, development.
Run, create, secure, lead. Simple, but covers a lot. What's the unique application here?
What's interesting is how he suggests using it for like self-reflection and making leadership priorities explicit within the team.
How does that work in practice?
He suggests this cool exercise. Draw a pie chart. First, map how you actually spend your time across those 4 duties right now.
Okay, the reality check.
Then, draw another pie chart showing your ideal allocation. Where should you be spending your time?
Ah, the gap analysis. I can see how that visual would be powerful.
Definitely. And he also says, be brave enough to ask for feedback in the moment. Like in a meeting, ask your team, hey, which of these 4 CEO modes am I operating in right now?
Oh, interesting, to build that meta-awareness.
Exactly. So everyone understands, okay, are we in run the strategy mode right now, or are we trying to create the next strategy? It aligns the conversation.
That's a smart, practical way to keep focus. Okay, tool number 4. 5 types of decisions. This is based on Victor Vroom's research. Sounds like it could streamline things.
Yeah, Vroom's work, the way Matt frames it, is all about matching the decision-making process to the decision itself. Where's the info? Who needs to be involved?
Makes sense. What are the 5 types?
Okay, first is autocratic. Leader decides alone, using their available info. Quick, efficient for some things.
Right, like maybe ordering snacks for the office.
Exactly. Second, consultative. Leader gets input from others, then decides.
Okay, gathers intel but still owns the call.
Third, consensus. Group decision needs pretty much everyone or the vast majority to agree. Can be slow, but builds buy-in.
The high buy-in approach.
Fourth, democratic. Group decision, but based on a majority vote, super or simple majority. Faster than consensus, maybe less buy-in.
Right.
And fifth, delegated. Leader hands off the decision entirely to someone else or a group. Empowerment, but you need the right people.
Autocratic, consultative, consensus, democratic, delegated. Got it. And the how to use involve, wow, a decision log Matt's kept for 20 years.
That blew me away too. Talk about commitment to reflection.
Seriously.
He apparently just jots down a one-line note for key decisions, and he suggests adapting that log to specifically label each decision with one of those 5 types.
Why do that?
It forces you to be conscious about how you're deciding things.
Yeah.
Are you defaulting to autocratic too often? Could this decision be delegated? It helps you choose the right process intentionally rather than just going with your habit.
That's a powerful self-awareness tool right there. Okay, the last of the top 5. 6 leadership styles, based on Hay McBeer's research around Dan Goleman's emotional intelligence work. This is probably familiar to many.
It is a well-known framework.
Yeah.
Matt lists the 6. Commanding, do it now. Visionary, come with me.
Yeah.
Affiliative, people come first. Democratic, what do you think? Pace setting, do as I do now. And coaching, try this.
Right.
And he helpfully flags commanding, affiliative, and pace setting as more tactical for immediate needs.
Putting out fires, maybe?
Kind of.
Yeah.
And visionary, democratic, and coaching as more strategic, focused on the longer term building capability.
Okay, so how does he suggest we integrate these? Just knowing them isn't enough?
True. He says, first, definitely read Gorman's classic HBR article, Leadership That Gets Roots. It lays the foundation.
Good starting point.
Then, crucially, build awareness within your team about these styles. Talk about them. Agree on which style fits which situation.
So it's not just the leader knowing, but the team understanding what's happening.
Exactly. And his final point is key.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to use those more tactical styles, commanding, pace setting, consciously narrate when you're shifting out of them.
Like saying, okay, crisis averted, now let's step back and think strategically.
Precisely. Signal that the tactical push is over and you're moving back toward a more sustainable, people-focused approach.
That's a really practical set of top 5 tools, but the toolkit doesn't stop there, does it? There's a whole section on creating a culture of prototyping.
Right, this shifts towards innovation. He kicks it off with something called divide by 10.
Divide by 10.
Yeah, it was a practice of his 4.0. The idea was to force really rigorous, lean experimentation by drastically cutting scope and cost. The challenge was, get a prototype in front of actual customers in under 10 days
Okay.
for under $1,000.
Wow. That certainly forces you to strip things down to the bare essentials. No over-engineering allowed.
Not at all. It breeds creativity through constraint. Then he talks about pretotyping.
Pretotyping, like before prototyping.
Exactly. It's based on Alberto Savoya's book, The Write It. The core idea is to find super cheap, super fast ways to test the demand for an idea before you even build a basic prototype.
So, testing the market appeal first?
Yeah. Are people actually interested in this? Will they use it? He mentions a resource called Pretotyping at Work for using these techniques even for internal projects like R&D. It's all about killing bad ideas quickly and cheaply.
Fail fast, learn fast, makes sense. And then, of course, design thinking.
A classic human-centered approach. He gives nods to Stanford's D-School and IDEO.
The big names.
Right. Emphasizing really understanding the user's needs first, then iterating solutions. He also points to a Design Thinking for Educators toolkit and this concept of Equity X design.
Equity by design.
Yeah, highlighting the need to be really intentional about inclusivity and fairness right from the start of any design process, not just as an afterthought.
That's critical. He also includes Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm.
A cornerstone idea for tech and innovation, really. Understanding that leap from the early adopters, the enthusiasts, to the mainstream market, it requires a different strategy.
You can't just assume everyone will jump on board.
Nope. And lastly, in this section, Steve Blank's Value Prop Canvas. Interestingly, he suggests focusing more on this initially than the business model canvas.
Really? Why is that? The business model canvas feels pretty standard.
It is. But Blank's argument, and Matt seems to agree, is that the value prop canvas forces you into that crucial deep work of understanding customer pains and gains and exactly how your product or service solves their problem.
So, nailing the product market fit first.
Exactly. Get the value proposition right before you spend too much time mapping out the whole business model, especially from an investor's perspective. They want to see that core fit first.
Okay, that prototyping section feels very action-oriented. The final big chunk is called Leading More Vulnerably. That sounds important, especially now.
It really does. He starts with informal power.
Informal power, as opposed
Formal positional power.
Yeah.
He uses French and Raven's classic model here. You've got the power that comes with your job title, legitimate power, reward power, coercive power.
Right, the org chart power.
Yeah. But then there's informal personal power, expert power. People trust your knowledge. And referent power. People like and respect you, want to be associated with you.
The power you earn, not the power you're given.
Exactly. And Matt argues that building that informal power is absolutely crucial for a strong culture, for resilience, for actually getting things done effectively.
So how do you cultivate that?
His go-to tool here is power mapping, actually visualizing those informal networks. Who influences whom? Who are the key connectors, regardless of title? He mentions an old HBR case study, Informal Networks, the company behind the chart, as being really insightful on this.
So understanding the real social fabric of the organization, not just the lines and boxes.
Precisely. Because often that's where the real work happens and how change actually spreads.
Okay, next under vulnerability is succession. His take seems different from just picking a successor.
Yeah, it's quite proactive. He frames it as focusing on what your potential successor or successors need from you right now to be ready later.
So it's about developing them, giving them opportunities.
Yes, and it fosters this long-term honesty. Especially for founders, he says, you need to constantly think about working yourself out of job after job as the organization grows. You can't hold on to everything.
That takes vulnerability, letting go.
It does. He even has a whole succession sprint toolkit.
A toolkit for succession? What's in that?
Things like surveys to figure out development needs, exercises for sketching out future org charts, a story time thing to pass on crucial tacit knowledge.
Like the unwritten rules in history.
Exactly. And linking it back to those board duties and CEO duties we talked about.
Yeah.
Plus this idea of mini tours of duty to share leadership.
Mini tours of duty.
Like giving people specific time-bound leadership responsibilities to build their skills and test their readiness. It's about distributing leadership, building capacity broadly.
That's a much more dynamic approach. Okay, then hire slowly. He references Jeffrey Smart's book, Who, seems counterintuitive in a fast world.
It does, but he acknowledges how often hiring is rushed and, frankly, haphazard, even though it's one of the most critical things leaders do.
True. Bad hires are incredibly costly.
Totally. He admits it's hard to measure the benefit of hiring slowly, but the anecdotal cost of hiring fast and wrong is huge. He points to a simplified summary on behavioral interviewing from Acton MBA as a practical way to be more deliberate.
Being more intentional about finding the right fit, not just filling a seat. Makes sense. Conflict resolution is next. His main advice.
Get to curious first.
Get to curious instead of getting defensive.
Exactly. Before you react, before you judge, just try to genuinely understand the other person's perspective. Why do they see it that way? What's driving them?
That simple shift could diffuse so many situations.
It's incredibly powerful. He also recommends the book Difficult Conversations and a checklist by Judy Ringer as good resources for navigating those tricky moments.
Useful tools. Then there's this concept, the 20-year version of people. This one really jumped out at me.
Me too. It's such a long-term, human-centric view.
What's the core idea?
It's about making decisions, about development, opportunities, even tough feedback, based on who that person could become in 20 years, not just their performance today or their role right now.
Wow. So investing in their long-term potential as human beings?
Yeah. Thinking about their growth beyond just the immediate needs of the organization. He even defines his own success by the health of his professional family tree shrub.
That shrub metaphor again. It suggests this interconnected organic growth, not just a rigid hierarchy.
Exactly. It's about the people you help grow who then go on to help others grow, rippling outwards.
That's a powerful legacy perspective. He also includes practice self-compassion. Seems vital, but often overlooked.
Absolutely. He points to Kristen Neff's work and Thupten Jinpa. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? Leading effectively requires taking care of your own mental and emotional well-being.
Resilience, empathy. It starts with how you treat yourself, then diverse teams do better. Very direct.
Yep, even quotes Dolly Parton on it. But it's not just a platitude. He stresses the need to understand our own complicity and bias, especially around gender and race, and actively work against it.
And he provides resources.
Yes, a whole list. The Center for Restorative Approaches, the Racial Equity Institute, Highlander Center, and others. It's about moving beyond just saying diversity is good to actually doing the work.
That's a crucial inclusion. Be aware of cognitive bias is in there too.
Essential for any leader making decisions. We all have mental shortcuts, biases. Understanding them is the first step to making clearer, more objective choices. He mentions the ridiculous graphic of biases.
I think I know the one. It's overwhelming.
It is. But also Wikipedia's list and Buster Benson's cheat sheet as more accessible ways to get a handle on common biases.
Good practical pointers. And then electrify your personal stuff. This links to his company name, My Next Electric.
Yeah, it connects the personal and professional.
Yeah.
He seems to be saying leaders have a role in modeling the way forward on big transitions like clean energy. It's about walking the talk.
Leading by example on societal issues. And the very last one, improv comedy.
I know, right? An unexpected one.
Why improv for leadership?
He argues it builds crucial skills. Deep listening, thinking on your feet, collaboration, being comfortable with uncertainty, saying yes and, all incredibly valuable for leaders.
Huh. When you put it like that.
Yeah. He just encourages finding a local class. It's practical, maybe even fun, leadership development.
Looking at this whole toolkit, it's so clearly a product of his own journey, isn't it? Constantly evolving. I love his comment. Last night was the latest edit, and I like it for now.
That says it all. It's not finished. It's a living document. And that invitation he extends, jump in the shrub. It paints this picture of a learning space that's maybe a bit messy, definitely human, but ultimately supportive and delightful, where everyone's growing together.
It's not some polished, perfect theory. It's real, earned wisdom shared generously.
Exactly. A dynamic toolkit from decades of trying, learning, and iterating.
So wrapping this up, what's the core value here for you, the listener? I think it's this blend of practical, actionable frameworks grounded in, real experience.
It's odd abstract.
Right. If you're looking for things you can actually use, maybe it's applying the 4 duties of a CEO to your own time allocation, or trying out the 5 types of decisions log, or consciously thinking about building that informal power.
Or maybe it's those longer-term ideas, like the 20-year version of people, that give you a whole new lens for leadership.
Definitely. And the fact that Matt explicitly asks for feedback, tell me what works, what doesn't. embodies that whole coaching shrub idea of shared learning.
It really does. It's an invitation to engage, not just passively receive.
So we really encourage you to check out the full toolkit, mattcandler.io leadership. Browse through it, see what resonates, maybe pick one thing, just one tool or idea from our discussion today, and think about how you could experiment with it.
Yeah, maybe it's structuring your next board meeting differently, focusing more on the generative, or perhaps just trying to get to curious in your next tricky conversation.
Exactly. And like Matt, we'd genuinely love to know what stands out to you. What's one piece of this you might actually try? Perhaps thinking about that shrub who's in your network and how are you collectively helping each other grow? That feels like a good place to leave it.